When working in consulting, improving the performance of your team with feedback is crucial. In this video, you will learn how to prepare giving feedback to a team member and even your boss. Follow these basic rules and you avoid that people react annoyed, but instead value you and your feedback. So without further ado, let's dive into this. Hi guys, this is Wolf from Breakfast for Champions. We are startup founders and former management consulting project leads, and we help you to advance your career and become a more respected leader. This is our first video in our series on feedback. You'll find a link for the other videos in the video description. When I say feedback, I mean both praise and criticism. But for most people, it seems to be much harder to criticize constructively. Constructive criticism goes a long way back. Already 500 BC, Confucius taught and thought about how to say difficult things well. But even today, more than 2,500 years later, many people are really bad at providing good, constructive, critical feedback. More than 75% of employees say that the feedback that they receive from their managers has absolutely no value for them. When I was working for a management consulting company and working for Siemens, feedback was a very important, ever-present topic. We were taught how to prepare and deliver feedback, and we also constantly received feedback on our performance. So let me share with you 3 pieces of advice that we found extremely valuable in preparing and delivering feedback. Are you ready? Tip number 1. Create buy-in for your feedback. That means different things. The first thing it means that at the beginning of a new collaboration, you should clarify whether feedback is desired and accepted. For example, you could say, I would like to know that I value feedback very much and I would like to give you feedback whenever I made an important observation. Is that okay for you? Or you say, as this is our first time that we are staffed on a project together, I would like to set up regular feedback meetings at the beginning, if that is something that you appreciate. Notice how this kind of question provides an option for the other person to say no. And so when he says yes, his buy-in for your feedback is directly stronger from the get-go. And when you're working at a consulting company, 10 out of 10 consultants would say yes, because there everyone is interested in how to perform better. You also create buy-in when you provide your feedback timely. That means you should provide your feedback within a week or a maximum 10 days after you've made the observation. By this, you ensure that the impression is fresh for both of you. If instead you wait too long and you say, for example, 4 weeks ago you did this and that made me feel like this and that, you directly trigger a rejection of your feedback because the context of that specific situation is much harder to remember. And the person who receives your feedback might have the feeling that he hasn't had the chance to correct the impression. Tip number 2, provide your feedback fairly. This is by far the most important tip, and we will upload a separate video dedicated to this specific point. For now, just the most basic rules for fair feedback. Number 1, don't do it in a written form, always in person or via call, because only then you have a sensor on your feedback receiver's reaction, and you allow the receiver to ask questions and you can clarify your points. Number 2, always start from specific observations. Always start with the specific observation, the specific behavior of that person, describe what you saw, what you heard, or what you noticed, and avoid general statements like, you should be more proactive. Number 3, always use I messages when you describe a specific situation or how that situation made you feel. You only speak for yourself, you never provide the feedback of others. So what you can say is, in the meeting this morning, I saw you were not taking any notes, and that made me wonder whether I'm the only one who is keeping track of the meeting. And that sounds much easier to understand, that is much easier to understand than when you would have said, in the meeting this morning, you were not taking notes and people wonder whether you are keeping track of the meeting. Number 4, your feedback is not a monologue. Avoid having minute-long monologues without any break. Take breaks. Ask questions. Do you remember the situation? Do you have any questions? And ask at the end for reactions. What do you think about that? What do you feel about that? This part is the most difficult one about providing feedback. The right pacing, the right structure, and the right choice of word make the difference between good and horrible feedback. We will upload a separate video just on how to structure and prepare your feedback perfectly. Before we move over to tip number 3, make sure you give this video a thumbs up if you like it and subscribe to our channel. Thank you very much. Tip number 3, be a good feedback receiver yourself. The acceptance of your feedback is much higher, and also the impact and the chance that the person changes for the better when you are sticking also to some rules when you receive feedback. The most important rules to keep in mind when receiving feedback are: listen without interruption, avoid argumentation and defensive attitude, and ensure comprehension. That means assume good intent and that the feedback giver wants to make you a gift with his feedback. He wants to help you. So ask questions for clarification until you fully understood what he means with his feedback. After you've received feedback, there is no need to justify or defend yourself. Just say thank you and think about the feedback that you've just got. See it this way. The feedback you've got is like a data point that you didn't have before. And you decide what you want to do with that data point. You can take it, you can reject it, or you can think about it and decide if and how you want to use it to become more successful. So there you have it, the most important ground rules and preconditions for successful feedback. I hope you find it useful and took something away from it. If you enjoyed this video, you might also enjoy our video on how to convey bad news via email. If you click on the screen right now, you can go and watch it. If you have any questions, feel free to post them in the comments below. We try to react to every comment that we get. And if you're new here, we upload a video every week to help you advance your career and become a more respected leader. If that sounds interesting to you, then make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. We really appreciate that. Thank you so much for watching. Take care and see you next time.